Greetings, booktubers and all you other YouTubers. This is Michael Romeo, and I talk about books. Welcome to my channel. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with me. I'm continuing the series that I started of examining the best-selling books for every year of the 20th century. And I'm doing it by decade, in case you're brand new and you haven't seen any of the others, or you just missed them. I've done the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, and now I'm going to do the 90s, and then I'm going to go back and do the first half of the century. Okay, so 1990s. Of the 10 books that were the yearly bestsellers for the 1990s, I've read one, which surprises me because I would have thought I'd read more. But no, I only read one. However, I am familiar with all the books and their reputations, as well as the reputations of the authors. So, we also have an anomaly in the 90s, and that is the last 6 years of the 90s were dominated by one author who had the best-selling book each year, 6 years in a row. Let's have a little fun. Take a moment, go down to the comments, and put in who you think that author is that had the last 6 years the best-selling books of the 1990s. And see if you're right. It's not who I would have guessed, that's for sure. Okay, so starting with 1990, we've got The Plains of Passage, which I believe is book number 4 in the Clan of the Cave Bear series that was written by Jean M. Auel, A-U-E-L. I'm not sure how you pronounce that last name. Auel? I tried reading Clan of the Cave Bear a couple of times and just could never get into it. It just never hooked me. So I've not read any of the rest of the series. But it is a very popular series for those who enjoy that storyline. And in 1990, The Plains of Passage was the best-selling book of the year. Next up, 1991. The best-selling book of the year was Scarlet by Alexandra Ripley. Scarlet, as some of you probably know, is the sequel to Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind, which was a Pulitzer Prize winner back in the 30s. And Scarlet was a very popular novel. I never read it, simply because I felt like it was a gimmick. And I just, for that reason alone, I tended to steer away from it. And it may be a very good book. A lot of people liked it because they made it the #1 book of 1991. 1992, the best-selling book of the year is the one in this list that I've read, and that is Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King. Incredible novel, folks. If you haven't read Dolores Claiborne, you are missing out. It is one of Stephen King's best, and it is the novel that he wrote, if I remember my Stephen King trivia correctly, the novel that he wrote when he pledged to write more believable female strong characters. And he did it in Dolores Claiborne. She is a heroine, not the drug, but the female version of a hero. And the narrative flows absolutely wonderfully throughout this book, and you find yourself rooting for her and cheering her on and hoping for the best for her. It's a wonderful book, Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King, one of King's best. If I had to list my top 5 Stephen King books, Dolores Claiborne would definitely be in there. 1993, we've got The Bridges of Madison County by Robert James Weller. This is a book whose reputation kind of stands on its own. It was made into a hit movie with, if I recall correctly, I know it was Meryl Streep. Was it Clint Eastwood or Robert Redford? I forget who the male lead in that was. I think it was probably Clint Eastwood. But anyway, it was made into a very famous movie. And it's supposed to be a wonderful book. It's been on my to-read list for about as long as it's been published, and I just never have gotten around to it. I will probably move it up the list because it's been there so long. I need to get it read. And that leaves us with the 6 books, all by the same author. 6 books in a row for the last 6 years of the 1990s. The same author was the best-selling author for every one of those 6 years. And who was it? Let me start by giving you the 6 books and their titles. We've got The Chamber for 1994. We've got 1995, The Rainmaker. 1996, The Runaway Jury. 1997, The Partner. 1998, The Street Lawyer. And 1999, The Testament. All of which were written by the phenomenally popular John Grisham. I have not read any of them. I have read a John Grisham book called The Client, which I believe was written in the 80s. And it was very good. I totally enjoyed it. I went on to try The Runaway Jury, which was 1996's bestseller book, and I couldn't get into it. And I never pushed it to see, try it again to see if maybe it was just a mood. And I never went on to any of his other books. Seeing that he has so many uber popular books, I'm thinking I'm going to add him back to my list, my to-read list, and give him another try. Because that's impressive. 6 years in a row. Starting with 1994 and finishing with 1999. 6 books in a row that were the best sellers for their year, according to my source, Publishers Weekly. Grisham, did you say Grisham down in the comments? If you did, yay you. If you didn't, I bet you had a clever answer anyway, because there were a lot of great authors. I would have suspected something like Stephen King, Dean Koontz, maybe even Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton. But I never would have guessed John Grisham. So, those are the best-selling books of the 1990s by year. One bestseller for every year. And again, the last 6 years of the decade dominated by John Grisham and his legal thrillers. That's it for the 90s. When I come back with this series, which will be probably next week sometime, I will do the 1950s and work backwards to the beginning of the century. And it's going as I move further away from the end of the century to the beginning of the century, I'm going to have to do some more research, because I've gathered some of the titles so far for the early part of the century, and I don't recognize a whole bunch of them, like from the 1900s, 1910s, 1920s. I'm surprised at how many I did not recognize. So I have to research them so I can at least say something about them besides they were the best-selling book of the year. So that's it for the 1990s. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. As always, leave your comments. I love your comments. Even if you left one about which author you thought it was and you now have something more to say, feel free to leave a second comment. I don't mind. And subscribe. If you've never subscribed, you're new to my channel, or you've been visiting for a little while and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't cost a thing, and it will give you notifications of when I post stuff. And since I have tried so hard to post regularly, but life keeps getting in the way, so I still post irregularly despite my efforts. I post a couple of times a week, but I can never guarantee what day it's going to be on. So it helps if you get these notifications so you know when to tune in. So that's it for the 1990s. It wasn't, of all the centuries that I've lived, I didn't say that. Of all the decades that I've lived, the 90s are the biggest blur. I can't begin to tell you. I really don't remember anything really significant about the 90s. So it was fun to see what books spearheaded the reading public's interest for that decade. Yeah, that's it for now. I will be back with the rest of this series over the next couple of months. And I have one that I'm going to do very shortly about short stories. So you'll see that soon. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate you being here and taking the time to watch and be with me. And until next time, have a great day, have a great week, have a great life.